It's no secret that the AAA industry is struggling, not because of a lack of talent or creativity, but because of time constraints, financial pressure, and the constant need to satisfy publishers who are footing the bill. As a result, a lot of big, high-profile releases end up feeling empty, uninspired, or sometimes outright unfinished. But it's not all bad. That pressure has allowed smaller studios, and I mean tiny studios, to step into the spotlight. To me, Hollow Knight Silksong is a prime example of that. Team Cherry is a small group of incredibly talented developers and artists who came together to create something genuinely special. They captivated fans with their first game, Hollow Knight, largely because they weren't under pressure, there were no deadlines, no expectations, they just took their time and enjoyed the process. Now, after waiting years for the sequel, we finally got to return to the unique and engaging world of Hollow Knight, and it has been a damn good experience from start to finish. The story of Silksong follows Hornet, first introduced in the original game as the daughter of the Pale King of Hollownest. Her unique lineage grants her strength far beyond that of a normal bug, and naturally, there are plenty of antagonists who want to claim that power for themselves. This leads to Hornet being kidnapped and transported to the distant kingdom of Farloom. She escapes shortly after arriving, but comes to believe that unless she dethrones the queen, she'll be relentlessly pursued even if she leaves the kingdom. And so begins your mysterious and dangerous journey through the haunted kingdom of Farloom. I think I speak for a lot of us when I say that all we really wanted from a Hollow Knight sequel was a refined version of the original. The first game gained recognition for its immersive, mysterious, and deeply detailed world, its hand-drawn art style, and its brutally challenging but incredibly well-designed 2D combat and platforming. Hollow Knight was already so unique and well-crafted that Silksong didn't need to reinvent the wheel. It just needed to refine what was already there, and it absolutely does. Hornet is an agile hunter who relies on speed and precision rather than raw force. Combat and platforming have been noticeably sped up, and her wide array of movement options allow her to dart around battlefields and traverse massive areas with ease. Everything feels faster, cleaner, and more fluid than ever before. Hornet's dash to sprint ability lets you quickly escape danger or capitalize on enemy openings. You can parry attacks, deflect projectiles, and latch onto ledges to climb, making traversal feel incredibly smooth. And these are just the starting mechanics. You'll unlock abilities like brief floating, long mid-air dashes, and more, each one further expanding on how you approach combat and exploration. Silksong also significantly revamps the upgrade system. You can still increase your health pool in Silk Reserve, which is used for abilities and healing, by collecting a variety of items. The biggest change, though, comes from the crest system. Throughout your playthrough, you'll find various crests, and you can only have one equipped at a time. Each crest dramatically alters how Hornet fights. They change your light, sprint, and aerial attacks, and each comes with a unique passive ability depending on the crest. They also affect which bonus items, tools, silk skills, and charms you can equip. At first glance, crests might seem like a simple weapons swap system, but they're much more than that. Each one fundamentally reshapes combat, and in some cases, even traversal. For most of my playthrough, I used the Reaper crest. It utilizes slow, sweeping attacks, but it really clicked with me for a few reasons. After healing, I'd get a brief window where dealing damage generated small bits of silk, letting me quickly recover what I had just spent. Its downward aerial attack felt controlled and predictable, making traversal and enemy hopping more consistent. And the sprint attack, which was a sweeping uppercut that launches Hornet into the air, opens up follow-up aerial attacks and evasive options. But that's just one example. The Wanderer emphasizes speed and rapid strikes, the Witch replaces healing with a life-siphoning attack, and the Architect offers multiple slots for enhancing tools, which I found especially useful when dealing with flying enemies. One of the biggest strengths of both Hollow Knight and Silksong is how they handle exploration. Both drop you into massive kingdoms filled with winding corridors and hidden shortcuts. There's no clear direction, just an abstract goal. And it's up to your curiosity and attention to detail to guide you. That sense of discovery is what kept me going, defeating a boss and being rewarded with access to an entirely new area, new tone, new music, new enemies, and wondering how it all fits into the larger kingdom. Each discovery offers subtle hints about the lore and what happened to these fallen kingdoms. The original Hollow Knight leaned heavily into this. You could play almost the entire game without truly understanding what was going on, which made every revelation feel more meaningful. Silksong doesn't quite do that. Farloom is expansive and filled with stories, but this time the game is much more willing to tell them to you. This feels like a deliberate design choice rather than a shortcoming. Silksong isn't trying to withhold information to create mystery, it's trying to make sure you understand the stakes as you move through Farloom. Early on, you're given a clear goal: find and defeat the queen so you can no longer be pursued. To do that, you'll traverse most of Farloom, meeting bugs who provide exposition or offer side quests. Through these interactions, you learn far more about Farloom and its inhabitants than you ever did about Hollow Nest, and much more directly. Now, this is very different from Hollow Knight. In the original game, the lack of information heightened curiosity, but it also pushed many players to outside videos or essays just to understand the story. Silksong instead delivers its lore through gameplay. Hornet speaks, there are more NPCs, more cutscenes, and plenty of trackable side quests telling self-contained stories. I appreciated not having to go to Reddit to figure out what was happening, but it does make the narrative more predictable. By the halfway point, I could clearly explain the premise, the state of the kingdom, and how the story would likely end. There are twists, especially if you reach the true ending, but for the most part, my predictions were pretty accurate. I was also a bit disappointed with the map itself. In the original game, each area felt like a meaningful piece of a cohesive whole. I still remember stumbling into the City of Tears and wondering how it could be raining underground, only to later learn that there was a massive lake above it. That revelation made an otherwise insignificant location feel special. Silksong has an area with a similar rain-like effect, but the explanation is far more abstract. Some speculate it's runoff from a diverted river, others think it's industrial exhaust, and some believe it's excess silk. Maybe it's all of the above, but geographically none of it fully clicks with me. And the other areas can feel more like themed neighborhoods, interesting in isolation, but not always like pieces of a cohesive world. I do want to briefly touch on difficulty. Hollow Knight is infamous for its challenge, and Silksong is no exception. It offers some of the most demanding and engaging 2D combat I've ever experienced. That said, the difficulty can feel exhausting, not because it's unfair or poorly designed, but because of pacing. I actively seek out challenging games, and I'd be far more critical of Silksong if it were easy. The issue is how rarely that challenge lets up. Difficulty escalates constantly, with peaks packed together tightly. Defeat a tough boss, and the next major challenge is often immediately even harder. And there is next to no breathing room in between. Because of that, I often felt unmotivated to keep pushing forward in longer sessions. I rarely played for more than an hour at a time, which is why it ultimately took me nearly 4 months to finish the game despite logging under 50 hours. I also want to give a quick shout out to the music. Video games have a unique relationship with soundtracks. Almost every game comes with its own unique set of songs, all tailor-made to match the aesthetic and be highly repeatable. I actually have a pretty deep respect and love for a good soundtrack in any video game. Silksong is no different. Composer Christopher Larkin delivers an incredible soundtrack with each piece perfectly matching its environment. It's on Spotify, and yes, I absolutely saved a few of these tracks. So where do I land on Hollow Knight Silksong? At the end of the day, this is an incredible game. In almost every measurable way, Silksong improves on the original. Combat is deeper and more expressive, movement is faster and more fluid, there's more to do, more systems to engage with, more characters to meet, and more story delivered through strong writing and stunning art direction. If I went back and replayed the original Hollow Knight today, I genuinely think I'd recognize Silksong as the stronger game almost immediately. And yet, despite all of that, I still find myself remembering my time with Hollow Knight a bit more fondly. I don't think that's because Silksong lost something, it's because it chose something different. Where Hollow Knight leaned heavily on mystery, restraint, and ambiguity, Silksong favors clarity, momentum, and mastery. Farloom is a kingdom you quickly come to understand, while Hollow Nest was a kingdom you slowly uncovered. Both approaches are valid, but they create very different emotional experiences. Hollow Knight made me feel curious and small, constantly questioning what I was seeing and how it all fit together. Silksong makes me feel capable and driven, pushing me forward with purpose and relentless challenge. One isn't better than the other, but they resonate differently. So while Silksong may be the better game, Hollow Knight remains the one that left the deeper emotional imprint on me. And that says less about Silksong's quality and more about how powerful the first sense of discovery can be. Something that's nearly impossible to recreate, no matter how refined the sequel becomes. With that being said, we waited a long time for Silksong to come out. Team Cherry told us that they won't release the game until it's absolutely ready, no matter how much we begged. They took their time, combing over every detail, and the wait was worth it. Hollow Knight Silksong is a shining example of the capabilities of the talented indie game community.
Faridula simanet, doni poina vodinet, pina sans mi maniset, danaf sa deloria.
Thank you everybody for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like and subscribe to help support the channel. And until next time, cheers!